I first got interested in consumption, or more specifically consumers, when I was doing my doctoral research, which was on popular culture, political culture in Victorian and Edwardian Britain, so mainly late 19th, early 20th century. And I suddenly noted how in some of the speeches and some of the campaigns, politicians, radicals and liberals, but also cooperatives, were addressing the audience as consumers. And then to top things off, they started putting a hyphen between consumer and citizen, and they addressed the consumers as the public interest or as citizens in general. I thought this is interesting because at that time, free trade was in the United States heavily associated with libertarians and with corporations, certainly not with the public interest and consumers. And also I thought, well, it's interesting, when did people start talking of themselves or addressing others as the consumer? Where does this start? And I realized there was a big gap in our understanding because the consumer was often used as a universal term, but before the 19th century, very, very, very rarely had people thought of themselves as the consumer, as a member of a shared collective identity. So I started researching the prehistory, if you want, of the consumer as a term and as a social and political identity.
Fantastic, thank you. And what inspires you today to continue with the research that you are doing into consumption, consumers, materiality?
Well, some of these questions continue to interest me. So the changing relationship between consumers as political actors and other institutions, states, empires. But I think one probably of the most fascinating questions is how consumption continues to be moralized all the way to the present, and how moral debates about whether consumers are selfish or excessive or irresponsible or frivolous can be traced back all the way to ancient times. So we have this very interesting tension between, on the one hand, critical voices recycling themselves. Okay, they're not necessarily conservatives or Republicans, they can today be environmental movements, but at the same time we are more and more positively inclined towards consuming, and today many of us who study consumption appreciate the positive contribution consuming makes to personal identity, social identity, political action. So that tension, I think, has become very central to contemporary societies, and how it pans out differently in different countries over the world is something we really still need to work out.